Today is, of course, Friday, and something I implemented here at Orlando Fire Department is a Red Shirt Friday. And the red, it's an acronym to remember every deployed veteran. Just remember that people that are serving this country to ensure our freedoms, just a reminder of that. So, and it's not mandatory that anyone who chooses to can on Fridays wear a red shirt. So that's why I'm in red today. But with that being said, congratulations on your upcoming graduation. I know that you're looking forward to getting out of high school and moving on with your lives. And perhaps some of you are thinking about going into the military, which is great. And being a public servant, and there's, in my opinion, no better job in the world than being a public servant, whether it's a school teacher, a firefighter, an EMT. Serving your public is probably the best thing that you can do for your fellow man. That it's not always about being rich, but it's about finding something that you have a passion for. And believe me, when you have a passion for something, it's not work. And my passion has been so great for this job that I started when I was 16. So I've been in the fire service for 40 years. I started out as a volunteer when I was a teenager, when I was 16 in high school. Back then, in the old days, they allowed teenagers to be volunteer firefighters. So through high school and college, I was a volunteer firefighter, and then I became a career firefighter after I got out of college, and worked in Arlington, Virginia for 24 years. And that was my first career. And the fire service has been very good to me and my family, in that it has provided opportunities for me that I would have never imagined. I've traveled all over the world, talking about the fire service, teaching other firefighters about how we do things here in the United States. I've been to one of the countries that I've been to, Kenya, 3 or 4 different trips to Kenya, teaching the Kenyan fire service about leadership and management, and that's been pretty awesome. I've traveled all over the country, been able to travel all over this country to provide training to other firefighters, and it's only been because of what I have made of the career. And I served as a firefighter and made my way up through the ranks, achieved every rank to serve. And I never stayed, even though my favorite job out of all of them is riding a fire truck, without a doubt. But I've been a fire marshal, where I've been responsible for inspecting buildings, or making sure buildings get inspected. I've been a fire investigator, which meant that I had law enforcement powers. A lot of times fire investigators were like fire police officers, because many times people will start fires intentionally, and if that happens, that's a crime, of course. And so we have to have the authority to go and make that arrest if someone has intentionally started a fire. And you go through law enforcement training just like a police officer. So I've done that. I've worked in hazardous materials, where you see the firefighters dressed up in the moon suits, going into deal with chemical spills. I've done technical rescue, where repelled off the side of high-rise buildings, and worked getting people out of collapsed structures and trapped vehicles. I've also been an instructor As I said, not only teaching firefighters across the country, but within my own departments. So I've had an awesome career. Different major incidents that I've been on in my time. During 2001, when I worked in Arlington, I was one of the first responders at the Pentagon, and spent 14 days there, dealing with that. I also was a part of a response team that went to New Orleans 7 days after Hurricane Katrina. I've had the opportunity to go out west and participate in some of the wildland fire management out there. So, as I said, it's been a great career. So I bring this all to your attention, just the fact that it goes back to having that passion, and just focusing on helping someone else, and with that focus on helping someone else, it has made me prosper and made me enjoy the work that I do. That it has never felt like work. That even today I still enjoy getting up every day, coming into work. Here in the city of Orlando. I've been here in the city of Orlando now for about 16 months. As I said, I worked in Arlington for 24 years, and I retired there in 2011, and went to Prince George's County, Maryland, which is right across the river from Arlington. It borders Washington, D.C. on the other side of the Potomac River. And Prince George's County Fire Department is the largest combination department in the country. Meaning combination, it's a combination of career firefighters and volunteer firefighters. And the county there is about 500 square miles. I had 47 stations, 1,000 volunteers, and 1,000 career firefighters. So fairly large department to manage. And it's in an urban, being right there next to Washington, D.C., as well as suburban, and then a rural tier with farms and all that. So worked there for 8.5 years, 3 years of being the fire chief there. And then the opportunity presented itself here. So I was tired of the cold, and getting old, the cold is not fun, especially when you have a little bit of arthritis and some back issues. So the last 2 winters, I have thoroughly enjoyed working here in Central Florida, being in Orlando, it's been great. Married and we just have one daughter. Daughter graduated college 2 years ago. Lives in Boston. She was an environmental science major. That was her passion, and she truly enjoys that as well. She had opportunities while she was in college to work in her field, and now she's helps manage all the different wildlife reserves in the state of Massachusetts. And then my wife was a police officer for 33 years with Arlington County. So while my wife and I were in public service, my daughter had no desire to do that. We didn't force her to anything. We told her, whatever she wanted to do in life, that's what you need to do, and that's what I say to you, whether it's military, public service, going to college, hopefully, some of you have already planned out what you want to do and are going to go to college in the fall. But college isn't for everyone. But if you have the opportunity to go, absolutely. I went to college because I knew that one day that I wanted to be a fire chief. So my undergrad is in business, and graduate school is in management. But also, I wanted to make sure that if something happened to me, because it is a very dangerous job, that I would have a skill to fall back on, whether it be running my own business or manage my own business. So, been fortunate that had in the 40 years that I've been in the service, no serious injuries. But it's always good to have a plan that if something does happen to you, that you have something to fall back on, especially when you're working in dangerous professions. But if those who want to be doctors, nurses, lawyers, again, I wish you the best in finding out what you want to do. I know that it's very stressful this time in your life, as now you're becoming more of an adult and becoming more independent and finding your way through this world, and going through these hard times of this pandemic that we're dealing with. And thank goodness it seems like we're almost at the end of it. Not quite, but it looks like we're getting there. That we'll be able to get back to normal and enjoy life as we know it. Goodness, what else? Working here in Orlando has been great. This department is one of the best departments in the country. That was part of the reason why I came here. There are 3 or 4 departments that firefighters want to work for in the state of Florida, and the city of Orlando is one of them. Orlando, Jacksonville, Miami, and Miami-Dade and Tampa. And most of the firefighters that work here today have come from another department. So they all have great enthusiasm for this job. And for those who have an interest in firefighting, I welcome you to come by the stations. Hopefully, we would allow people to come in and visit prior to the pandemic, and we will resume that afterwards. But I welcome any of you that want to learn more about firefighting to come in. We can set up a time to where I can give you a tour, or have the firefighters to give you a tour here at Station 1 or any of our 17 fire stations that we have in the city, to explain what we actually do. I mean, it's not just fighting fires. EMS, emergency medical service, is predominantly what we do. 70 to 80% of our calls are heart attacks, stroke, automobile accidents, diabetic emergencies, and of course, trauma, where someone has been unfortunately shot or stabbed or something like that. But you can go on to be, everyone is trained to be an emergency medical technician, but if you choose to become a paramedic, and paramedics are the ones that start the IVs and give medications, what we call advanced life support. Absolutely, it's a great job, and we have civilian paramedics, and we also have firefighter paramedics. But yes, would be more than happy to have you to come by the station and share with you what we do.
We have 2 aspiring firefighters sitting right here, and they would like to just ask a couple questions. But first and foremost, they wanted to know what advice you would give them as an aspiring firefighter. What should their first steps be? Is there an Explorer program for them to be able to experience it while also going to school for that firefighter certification?
So yes, we do have an Explorer program, and we'll get you more information on that. But we have right now, I think, 18 Explorers, and it's from ages 14 to, I believe, 20. And they meet once a month. And but not only do they meet once a month, but they also participate in many of the community activities that we participate in. Whether it's going out and doing public events where we're doing demonstrations for children, or speaking to different groups, that they come out and assist with us in providing, to showing the kids the fire trucks and all of that. My advice would be to look into the community college, if you're graduating, to look into the EMT, become an emergency medical technician. Usually becoming an EMT is more difficult than learning to be the firefighter training. More people struggle with the EMT, and because it's what we do the most of, then you get an opportunity to really decide, okay, yeah, is this something that I really want to do? Because a lot of times people start with fire and all that excitement, and then they get to the EMT, it's like, I don't know if I want to do this. But starting with the EMT first, and then after your success there, going into fire standards at the community college, and then of course, as you're going through programs, you've got to stay out of trouble, of course. There are certain things that if you do certain drugs, marijuana, cocaine, meth. I mean, I was young once too, and never experimented with drugs, but I understand that sometimes people want to try things, but just remember that trying something like that could jeopardize what you want to do in the future. And if you commit a felon, there's not a fire department in the country that will hire you if you have committed a felony. And then there are certain, the cocaine, meth, certain drugs that if you take and are caught with those, you can't be a firefighter. Marijuana just depends on the usage, how often. While we know it's legal in some states, it's not legal here. So we still follow strict guidelines for marijuana. Driving record, you got to have a good driving record. A DUI, it's probably going to delay you in getting a job in the fire service. While it's not an automatic eliminator, but what happens is that we look at the time between you've had that DUI and the time that you have applied. If it's been within the last 2 or 3 years, you're probably not going to get hired. So that's the advice that I have.
Is there currently any volunteering or anything to just be in the workforce, just to start something?
We don't have a program as far as volunteers here in the city of Orlando. Other than the Explorer program, that would be the only opportunity as far as firsthand getting, coming in on a regular basis. I'm not sure who in Central Florida, what other departments are more volunteer oriented. I'll have to, sorry, I don't know, being new to the area. I haven't looked at as far as what some of the other volunteer departments, I know they're around, but as far as what surrounds this Orlando, I know Seminole's all career, Orange County is, all those are all career, Windermere, Winter Park, I believe maybe Polk County might be the closest department to us that has volunteers. You're welcome.
Money is a big topic for us fire chiefs. Would you like to talk about the salary?
Sure. So starting pay is right around $50,000. But yeah, while you're not going to become rich being a firefighter, and it's not always about being rich. But I mean, that's pretty good pace, starting out, that only requirement is a high school education. Now, with that being said, the work schedule. So our firefighters work one day on, they work a 24-hour shift. So they come in for 24 hours and then they go home for 48 hours. So they work one day, off 2 days. And then every fifth day, they get an extra day off. So it comes out to average about 8 days a month, 8 to 9 days a month that you're coming in. So that means that you've got, 20 other days that you could have another job or have your own business. And the time, and we allow that, what we call secondary employment. And many of our firefighters have, second jobs and have their own businesses. So while the pay isn't as much as some of the other professional, there's enough time that it allows you to expand and have other employment.
So I know that your application process and the actual process to become a firefighter is pretty rigorous. Do you have any recommendations for these students in preparation for that?
Yeah, thank you. So, of course, being a firefighter, you have to be physically fit. And we have a performance performance assessment. It's called CPAT, Candidate Physical Abilities Test, and it's 10 evolutions that simulate what we do on the fire ground that you have to perform in a set amount of time. And there's also different rules you have to follow as you're going through it. Excuse me. So, of course, you have to pass that. And it takes, you quite need to have good aerobic capacity. So if you're not running, would recommend running, 3 miles every other day or so. Getting your aerobic capacity up to where you're going to have enough wind to finish the test. I think it's 11 minutes and 15 seconds that you have to complete the test in. And you're wearing you start out wearing a 25-pound vest, and then another 25 pounds on your shoulders, 12 and a half pounds on each shoulder. And you have to get on a step mill, like a treadmill, but it's stairs, and you have to stay on there for 3 minutes at 60 steps a minute. And then when you get off of that, you have 9 more evolutions to do. Whether it's dragging hose, dragging a 175-pound dummy, using a sledgehammer to simulate forcing a door, knocking down a door, carrying equipment, going through a maze to where it's dark and you have to find your way through. And then also the last evolution is it's called a ceiling breach, where a lot of times after a fire we have to make sure the fire is completely out and do overhaul. So a lot of times it's pulling the drywall down from the ceiling, and that can be taxing. So you have to push up, penetrate the drywall, and then pull it down. And it takes a lot out of you. So that's the last evolution, and a lot of people run out of time there because they're just wore out. So yeah, you definitely have to be in shape, without a doubt. And then there's the written test, which we provide the information there. Right now we're using a testing site. I forget the name. Sorry. Testing site that does all of our testing, but they provide the information as far as what's on the test. And then as far as that, there's you've got to have a physical, so we're going to send you to make sure that you're in good medical health to perform the job. And then there's also a psychological exam to make sure that you are mentally fit to do the job.
You also mentioned that you had a business degree.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you before time ran out, because I am going to college for financial advising and business, and while that does not align completely with you, as you are the fire chief of Orlando, I wanted to ask if there was any way to keep in contact with you afterwards when I'm out of high school and I'm starting my career as a financial advisor and businessman. So then, if there's anything that, let's say a client comes up to me and says, oh, my child or a family member so-and-so is interested in firefighting, I can then send them to you. You will get potential firefighters and such, and then if you by any chance have anyone that needs financial advising or anything that has to do with money or business, you can send them my way.
Absolutely. Yes, we can do that. I'll have my administrative assistant, Yolanda, get all your information, and absolutely. And then most likely it'll be, we have a recruiter, Chief Hassan, and she is an assistant chief, and I'm sorry, district chief, and yes, she goes out and meets with different people that want to become a firefighter. But yes, we'd love to have a partnership with you and your business, and being able to any referrals that you have, and yes, we'd be glad to work with you with that.
Appreciate that, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm teaching my kids how to network, sir.
Very good.
He wants to be able to stay in touch. All of the speakers we've had have offered their contact information to these young people as they go through their journey of career and just life and college or whatever, being able to stay in touch. It's really, it takes a village.
Absolutely, yes. And I'll be more than glad to give you my email, even my personal phone. My personal phone is on my business card. I'm like I said, I'm a public servant all the way through, so whatever the need is.
That's awesome. And one more question from the student. One of our students wants to do an orthodontist. She's a little nervous to come to the camera here.
Okay.
But she wants to know, she wants to know, what is the scariest thing that you've encountered in your career? What has been the most frightening or disturbing? She's taking a forensics class.
Okay.
So she's seeing some pretty morbid stuff.
Okay.
Ask me what has been some of the most frightening or disturbing things you've seen in your career.
So, as I said, while I've been very fortunate not to have been seriously injured in my job, but I've had 5 different instances where, I was what we call close calls, where I could have been seriously injured or killed. My first one was in a fire. The floor collapsed, and I was on the stairwell, and I was on the second floor, and I could see all the way down into the basement, and I lost my balance, and I was just hanging with the landing with my elbows. And one of the other firefighters, he was a college football player, defensive end, and he was able to pull me back over. That was probably that was definitely scary there. Almost had a wall collapse on me, a cinder block wall, and it was just by fate, a blessing that was standing. It was a garage, large garage that was on fire, and we had pulled everybody out because the was unsafe inside, and well, we're just standing there, and all of a sudden the wall that was right in front of us just let loose, and it didn't fall forward. It just dropped like a curtain right at our feet, like unbelievable. I've walked into power lines. A lot of times the electrical lines will burn free from a building when the building's on fire, and I've found myself, how I never got electrocuted, I'll never know, but and then probably the most taxing was being at the Pentagon during 9/11, without a doubt. Seeing all of the destruction there with a plane into a building. Yeah, hopefully never see something like that again in my career. But yeah, that was, as you can imagine, quite the event. But had a lot of support afterwards to deal with a lot of the emotions that we had there afterwards, and was able to continue my career. But I can tell you that there were probably about 20 of my people that I work with, other firefighters, that had to retire because of what we call post-traumatic stress disorder, that they couldn't continue to cope with the job. Yeah, so those were some of my experiences that I've had as far as with danger and being scared. Dead people, never bother me. I always figure, they can't hurt you, right? But trying to, when you're trying to, bring someone back to life, you're not really focused on that they're really, dead. You're just focused on doing what you were trained to do, to try to get them back. And usually it doesn't set in until, afterwards. When you get back to the station, you start playing the incident back in your head. But usually when you're, not usually, but when you're engaged in it, you're not even thinking about what the outcome's going to be at that time. You're just doing all that you can to get them back.
Thank you, sir. I know you're pressed for time, and one more question. So they asked, are you going to retire soon?
So I know I look old, but I would like to work at least 5 or 6 more years. That'll give me about 45, 46 years in the service, and then that's enough. So so this is my third job. The other 2 departments, I retired when I was 48 from the first job, but I enjoyed so much that this is just, like I said, my passion. It's something that I love to do, live to do. People always used to tell me, if you fall over and your head cracks open, probably a fire truck would come out. But it's been great. So probably about another 5 or 6 years, and then it's time to move on. Let somebody else have it. But I do stay engaged. I do stay up on the profession. I just don't stay here in the office. I get out and about. I attend conferences. I stay current in the profession, and you have to. If you're going to be relevant, if you're going to have influence, and be able to influence, you have to stay up with the times. And believe me, the fire service has changed dramatically since I came on back in the 80s when I started. So, but I enjoyed the effort. I enjoyed putting in the effort. So, and I thank you, Lake Nona, for again giving me the opportunity to share my experience, my experiences that I've had in the fire service with you. And I wish you all the best with your endeavors. And yes, if there's anything that I can do or OFD can do, please reach out.
We really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. It means a lot to them to be able to hear from our community professionals. And thank you for all you do on a daily basis.
Thank you. Thank you.
Post for a picture, guys, and then Fire Chief, I also let Yolanda know we're gonna have a big send off on May 13th, the kids' last day, so I hope you can join us for that.
Okay. All
So
right.
we post for a picture, and I'm holding my phone up to say